I used to joke that my wife could turn anything into a scholarship if she put the right filter on it. She's always had that grant application voice, the one that makes a brunch plan sound like a community initiative. When she came home waving her phone and saying she'd won a spot in a 10-day creative strategy program, I smiled like a man who wants to believe the universe is finally saying yes. I got in, she said, breathless and bright. 10 days, industry mentors, portfolio reviews. It's in Tempe. They called it an accelerator for mid-career women. They only took 20. Tempe, Arizona State. It sounded official. My brain drew palm trees over a campus I've never seen and put her in a lanyard. I thought scholarships pay for everything, I said, trying not to sound like a spreadsheet. The tuition is covered, she said. But there's a dorm deposit, books, a lab fee, and flights. It's short notice. Can we hit the cushion for the deposit and flights? I can cover the rest from my freelance check next month. We have what we call a safety pillow, not a cushion, because one late rent in our 20s taught us the difference between soft words and hard numbers. I'm a warehouse ops supervisor. My job is moving freight without letting it fall apart. She's in brand marketing for a boutique athleisure line, which I thought meant leggings until I saw a spreadsheet that made our mortgage look modest. We were fine. We weren't flush. How much is the deposit? I asked. She named a number that didn't make me swallow wrong. I'll pay it back, she said. This will change everything. If you love someone long enough, you learn what their words are trying to buy. I said yes, because I pictured her in a classroom, hair in a clip, taking notes like a person being rebuilt. The next week was a montage. She ordered highlighters and a whiteboard and a set of neon sticky tabs that made our coffee table look like a Skittles accident. She made a study registry link with a list of recommended texts and tech supplies and sent it to the group chat with the bridesmaids, turned co-workers who still call her Kiki, like senior year is still a thing. It felt goofy and earnest in a way I didn't hate. People bought her a ring light, a lap desk, a noise machine. Her aunt sent a 100 for textbooks. Her boss promised a letter of recommendation for the next thing this thing would turn into. Her dorm assignment came via email with too much clip art. She clapped at the subject line like it had given her a compliment. See, she said, tilting her phone so I could read. South residence, check in at 4. Curator will meet me. Curator, I said, because the word felt like a museum had wandered into a campus map. It's what they call the mentor, she said. It's artsy. Don't be old. The night before she left, she filmed a time-lapse of herself packing and set it to a lo-fi track. The caption read, "Back to school, but make it mid-30s." She blew me a kiss off camera and then did the be right back run toward her suitcase. I watched the loop 3 times and felt lucky in the dumb, quiet way luck feels when you catch it sitting on your couch with one sock on. Her flight was at noon. She wore a ball cap, a zip hoodie, and a tote that said, "Ideas are a job." I took a picture of her at the airport drop-off because I didn't know yet that a picture at an airport can turn into evidence. She texted me a wing pic, a latte pic, and a shot of her boarding pass. Then she sent a story that night, a desk, a whiteboard with scribbles, a cup of pens, and a caption midnight grind, day 1. There was a location sticker on the corner like a piece of confetti. Las Vegas, Nevada. I stared at it long enough for the phone to dim. I told myself it was a glitch. Location stickers lag. People repost. The internet loves to be wrong. I sent her a hard eyes and a go get it with a rocket ship because I refuse to be the man who turns every odd pixel into a cross-examination. She didn't answer that, which didn't mean anything. We're not kids. We work. We sleep. We forget our phones under our butts on the couch and find them at 2 a.m. and pretend we didn't. Day 2, she posted a selfie at the dorm. Gray hall, gray carpet, a corkboard with a flyer for a campus blood drive. The caption said, "Dorm life, but make it cozy." There was a "Do Not Disturb" hanging on the knob just behind her shoulder. The tall rectangular hotel kind with rounded corners and a slot, not the flimsy campus kind you slide over a knob. A sliver of patterned carpet peeked under her door. I know hotel carpet when I see it. It has this energy swirls or squares that says spill-proof and secrets. I told myself, dorms get nice now. I told myself they have hospitality budgets and partnerships with chain hotels. I told myself I didn't want to be a man who can turn carpet into a problem. She FaceTimed me that night and gave me a tour, quick and cheerful. "Here's my desk," she said. "Here's the kitchenette. Here's the view." The view was a parking lot and a rectangle of another building with mirrored windows. In the reflection, I didn't see trees or bikes or quad. I saw a neon sign flicker red and the suggestion of a giant billboard's edge. Tempe has neon, so does everywhere. She yawned and blew me another kiss. First lecture at 8, she said. Curator said, come early, he's amazing. What's his name? I asked, because small talk is a way to not ask real questions. Luke, she said quickly. He's like a brand whisperer. He did campaigns you'd recognize. She grinned. He's intense. I knew a Luke. Not personally. I knew the name from an old story of hers, a boy she dated in her mid-20s who played bass in a band that got one good review and a free bar tab and then imploded in a way that made everyone sad and jealous. That Luke moved to the desert at some point. That Luke sends "Hope You're Well" after midnight twice a year like a holiday that never makes the calendar. It could be a different Luke. America has a lot of Lukes. I put the thought on a shelf. On day 3, the flight charge hit our card, and the dorm deposit hit our checking like we'd planned. Then a line item I didn't recognize appeared, a transfer to an account with a nickname I hadn't seen before. The memo read, Lab Fee, Luke Fund. I texted her and asked if the lab fee went through the school or the program. She responded with a photo of her hand holding a coffee and a caption, they do everything through cohorts. Stop worrying. The hand in the photo wore a fabric wristband. It was pink with cursive letters and a tiny gilded bell. I thought of festivals, then of the kind of hotel pools where you need a wristband to get a towel. I zoomed in because I'm human. The rim of the coffee lid reflected a blurry arc of gold letters on glass across the street. I turned my phone sideways. The letters could have spelled chapel. They could have spelled something else. The brain fills in what it wants. A coworker sent me her story with 5 laughing emojis. Bro, tell me you see the Vegas tag, he wrote. I typed a joking lie and asked him not to be messy. He double-tapped the lie and dropped it, because not all friends are arsonists. That night, she posted a boomerang of a notebook opening and closing with the caption, syllabus time. Somebody's elbow dipped into frame and out. It had a lightning bolt tattoo I'd seen before on a wrist hanging over the lip of a beer at a bar years ago when I first met her. I rewound the mental tape I pretend not to own. Luke had that tattoo. So do a lot of people. I hate that I keep saying that. She called late, voice thin like hotel Wi-Fi. We did brand archetypes, she said, giddy. I'm a rebel caregiver with a dash of sage. I'm a man who likes the same breakfast every day, I said. Do I get an archetype? She laughed. You're an anchor, that's a compliment. Day 4, a friend of hers posted a repost of the study registry link and wrote, help our girl buy books. I clicked it because I wanted to send her something, even if I'd already sent cash. The registry wasn't at a bookstore. It was at one of those universal sites where you can list anything from anywhere and have the money routed to a fund. The top category said textbooks and lab fees. The second said travel stipend. The third said experience add-ons with a photo of a pool cabana that made my stomach lurch. The purchase confirmations went to an email I didn't recognize. I closed my phone, reopened it, and forced myself to send a GIF of someone studying with gumption. In the afternoon, my mother called to ask if she could share the registry on Facebook. I said yes, because saying no would require provisioning a sentence I didn't have parts for. Day 5 is when the universe stopped bothering with subtlety. She posted a group photo. 20 people with lanyards in a ballroom with neutral carpet and chandeliers and a banner that said cohort. There was a stage with a mic stand and a sign on an easel with the program name and a font that screams affordable cool. On the edge of the frame, a black slot machine reflected a scatter of color. I zoomed. The symbols could have been flowers. They could have been cherries. I felt stupid for knowing the difference. Luke was in the middle row, 2 over from my wife. I recognized him the way you recognize a song from the first 2 notes. Hair grown into that desert creative length, bracelet stack, smile that knows where the camera is. She posted him before, years ago, in a carousel of things I used to think were the center of the world. Same man, now wearing a name badge that said curator and a smile that said, I have a house style for everyone and it begins with me. The caption said, we found our people. In the comments, someone wrote, see you on the strip. She replied with 3 zipper-lipped emojis and a winky face, which I now know is the punctuation for, I want to look innocent and also be caught. I called that night, which I hadn't done since she left because I'm a modern person who knows to respect schedules and also fear asking questions I can't afford to hear answers to. She answered on the third ring, out of breath, like joy had chased her into a corner. "Hey," she said. "How's Tempe?" I asked, gentle. "How's the dorm?" "You're cute," she said, deflecting. "We did pitch drills. I killed." Luke said my deck had bones. "Luke," I said, letting the name sit there. "My curator?" "Yeah," she said. "Don't be jealous. He's married." The sentence hung like sweat. I could have said what my head screamed. "Which Luke? Where in Tempe is there a slot machine? Why is your dorm deposit a hotel authorization with an incidentals hold?" I didn't. I asked about the weather. We talked about nothing until the call lagged and gave us both an exit. That night, a DM slid into my requests. It was from an account with the kind of profile picture that looks cropped from a wedding, all shoulders and a hand on an arm. "Hi! I know you don't know me. Are you married to Kayla?" I stared at it until it timed out. I typed yes. The next bubble came fast. "I'm married to Luke. Can we talk?" I didn't answer. I put the phone face down and sat on the edge of the bed like a man trying not to stand up and execute a plan he doesn't have. The fan ticked. The neighbor upstairs dropped something and laughed. I went to the kitchen and poured water like it was a task worth doing right. In the morning, she sent me a close-up of her lanyard, lipstick stain on the edge of her coffee, and a caption, "Got my student badge." I looked at the badge long enough to memorize the font so that I could hate it for years. The badge sat on a table next to a paper wristband, blue this time, plastic with a little clip. There was a logo on the band, a cursive C and a cross. Vegas has a chapel culture. I've seen those bands in reels where people get married by an Elvis who knows the lighting angles, "Are you married to Kayla?" the DM asked again, and then a second new message. Shorter, sharper. "I'm in Vegas. So is your wife." I called my wife because avoidance is a luxury you can't afford once the nouns show up. She answered on the first ring like she'd been paused mid-sentence. "What's up?" she said. That too bright tone she uses when she's holding a glass of something fizzy in a story. "Where are you?" I asked. "Tempe," she said. "On campus." "Send me a photo out the window," I said. "The sky. A tree." Silence stretched, then snapped. "That's creepy," she said. "What is wrong with you?" "I love you," I said, "because the truth is rude. I don't want to argue. I want to know where you are." She sent a picture. Blue sky, a white stucco wall, the edge of a palm. It could have been any place that has sun. The corner of a billboard crept into the frame. "Wedding specials." It read in a font that I promise you has been chosen 1,000 times by people who believe in fate and discounts. The DM from Luke's wife stacked up while I was typing and deleting. "I don't want to blow up your life, but you should know. He told me he's at a conference in Chicago. He's not. I flew in last night because I had a bad feeling. I've seen your wife with him twice. I've seen her wristband. I saw her walk into a chapel at noon with him and a photographer before coming back out 10 minutes later. It looked like a package. They were laughing." I sat down on the kitchen floor because chairs felt like a performance I hadn't earned. When you don't want to be an investigator, the world keeps sending you things that investigate themselves. My bank pinged. Another transfer to Luke Fund. The registry sent an auto thank you to my mother for contributing to Capstone Experience add-on. My phone lit with a text from a friend of hers who shouldn't have my number, except we once planned a surprise party together. "Do you know, the student registry lets people send cash. I just sent 150 for books, and the receipt says it went to KL and L Experience. That's normal, right?" I wanted to throw my phone in the sink and turn on the garbage disposal just to hear a sound that matched the shape of what was happening. Instead, I called my mom. I told her not to share the registry. I told her I'd explain later. She asked if I was eating. I told her yes. She told me to make eggs. I made toast. Kayla called just after lunch with a voice that had extra smiles stapled to it. "Guess what?" she said. "We get a bonus day in Vegas." Vegas, I repeated, because kindness wasn't going to save me now. "It's an off-site," she said, like the lie had a name tag. "The cohort moved for the weekend to partner with a hospitality brand." "You said Tempe," I said. "It's the desert," she said. "Don't be rigid." "I'm not rigid," I said. "I'm locating my wife." She laughed because she didn't have a better move. "You're cute when you're territorial." "Are you wearing a chapel wristband?" I asked. Silence, crisp and exact. "It's for the pool," she said. "You're being insane." "I'm being precise," I said. "Send me the program link." She hung up. Not a drop, not a crash. A click like a bracelet closing. The DM chimed again. The next message was a photo from Luke's wife, taken from the sidewalk outside a glass door. Kayla's profile in the reflection, Luke's hand on her back. The words over the door read, Little White Chapel of Love. In the corner of the frame, 3 packages wrapped in white ribbon sat on a cart. A sign on the cart said, Reception, with an arrow, we both know points nowhere good. My phone buzzed with a calendar alert I didn't create. Delivery reminder, 3 p.m. gift table. A registry platform had synced to my calendar weeks ago when I bought a present for a cousin. It pulls any registry you're linked to. Apparently, I was linked to a new one. I clicked the alert. It opened a page with a banner and a photo of a desert sunset and a headline, Celebrate KNL. Underneath, a list of experiences, helicopter tour, cabana day, couples massage, chapel photo package. A cash fund at the bottom, our mini moon. I was still staring when Kayla sent me a selfie from a hallway with neutral carpet and gold trim. Her smile looked like a magazine cover if the copy line were how to pretend the ice is fine. On her wrist, the pink fabric band. On her lanyard, a name badge that said cohort. On her chest, a heart that used to know mine better than any map. I didn't reply. I stood, walked to our bedroom, and pulled the blue folder from the closet. It's where we keep warranties, birth certificates, the soft paper that runs a hard life. I laid it on the bed, opened it, and slid in a printout of the registry page, a printout of my bank transfer, a screenshot of the chapel door, a photo of her wristband, a copy of the dorm deposit charge with a hotel merchant code, and a sticky note that said Vegas is not Tempe. Then I texted the number that had been trying to be my ally all day. Can you meet me? 5 minutes. Lobby of the Mirage. I'll wear a blue hat. I need to see a person who knows how this ends. She wrote back one word, yes. When I booked a ticket, I told myself I was traveling to pick up my wife from a lie by the elbow and lead her out before she sold any more pieces of us to a neon sign. When the plane lifted, I realized I was also flying to meet another life that had started without me, somewhere on a sidewalk with a woman who was as tired of the word curator as I was. Vegas force feeds your eyes. Even the airport hums like a slot machine that figured out walking. I landed at 30,000, stuffed a blue cap on my head, and let the moving walkway carry me toward a conversation I didn't think I'd ever have. She saw me first. Late 30s, tote bag that meant business, wedding band, eyes like a good teacher's, kind until you make her be a witness. She walked up and said, I'm Aaron, and it was the first name all day that didn't try to sell me anything. We sat under a potted palm in the Mirage lobby that looked like it charged rent. Erin took out her phone and put it face down between us like a white flag. I'm sorry, she said. I don't want to be the person who blows up a stranger's life. But mine was already lit. Thank you for calling, I said. I'd rather hold the match than smell smoke from home. She nodded once. Timeline? She asked, like a woman who organizes chaos for a living. I laid it out plain. Scholarship, dorm, cohort, Luke, wristbands, registry, transfers, chapel door. She didn't interrupt. She didn't hurry. When I finished, she flipped her phone and showed me a screenshot. Luke's itinerary for a conference in Chicago, a calendar block with a fake Zoom, a lift receipt in Vegas. Another, a photo of him outside a side entrance at a hotel with a luggage cart and a garment bag. Another, my wife at his elbow, laughing up at him like the past had reached a hand through time and pulled her into the same dumb show. I haven't confronted him yet, she said. I wanted to see where the money was going first. Luke Fund, I said, and it tasted like rust. We made a pact in that lobby. No scenes, no yelling, no giving either of them a chance to turn us into villains in a story they'd already rehearsed. Facts spoken in rooms that write things down. The concierge gave us nothing except directions and a smile you can't teach. The chapel gave us a lot. It sits in a row of little white buildings with too much confidence and not enough shade. The front desk clerk had a clipboard and the emotional tone of a person who has heard everything twice. Erin introduced herself quietly. I introduced myself quietly. We showed ID because the world believes paper. Do you have a package scheduled under Kayla and Luke? Erin asked. Calm, no drama. You could bottle her tone and sell it as accountability light. The clerk checked. Photo package at 4, she said. Ring exchange add-on in the gazebo. Renewal style vows. No legal filing. Organizer Luke. Credit card on file ending in 4192. Band wristbands already issued. Do you allow vow ceremonies for people who are already married to other people? Erin asked, still in librarian voice. The clerk blinked. Our policy is that non-legal ceremonies are symbolic only, and we do not check marital status, she said, reciting. Then she noticed Aaron's ring, noticed my face, and set the script down. I can call a manager. The manager arrived with a tie and a conscience, Aaron explained. I added the part about the study registry being used as a wedding gift funnel. The manager listened, asked for what he could keep, and got what he needed: screen grabs of the K&L experience page, the Luke fund transfer, the wristband photo, the knot, Tempe selfie, the Chicago calendar entry, the Vegas lift. Erin showed her marriage license on her phone like a shield. I showed our bank transfer like a receipt for stupidity. We can cancel the package, he said. We will refund the photo fee and the vow add-on, minus a processing charge. We'll also alert the hotel the couple registered with if it's on our partner list. If you want a formal incident report, we can write one. Write it, Aaron said. And if they show up, I asked. We'll escort them off property for the day, he said. We won't be the backdrop for this. Through the glass, I saw a photographer in a black shirt adjust a camera on a tripod under a trellis wrapped in plastic roses. A groundskeeper watered something that didn't need water. 2 tourists took selfies with a cardboard Elvis. Vegas is efficient at ignoring what isn't its business. We were making this their business. The hotel was next. Not South Residence, as it turns out. South Tower. The front desk associate typed and squinted and then called a supervisor who had managerial posture and the vibe of a person who knows which levers move. Aaron did the introductions again. I did the show and tell again! The supervisor's face never changed, but an inch of empathy moved behind his eyes. Room 1928, he said. Registered to Luke. Additional guest, Kayla. Rate code, cohort. That rate is for a conference that is not happening on property. It's a cross promo from a third-party accelerators vendor. We will be reviewing that partner agreement today. What about charges to the room? I asked. He looked, then gave me the corporate version of a wince. Pool cabana, champagne service, photographer room charge for prep, and chapel partner hold. We can't give you itemized receipts for someone else's room, but we can include line items in the incident report for the chapel to attach. He paused. Do you want them trespassed? He asked, like a mechanic offering the fix you didn't know you could afford. Not yet, Aaron said. If you see them, please tell them both their spouses are on property and want to talk in a private room with a manager present. You want a conference room? He asked, already dialing. Please, she said. No bar tables, no lobby televisions, chairs, a table, and someone with a pen. He set us up in a tiny business center with 4 chairs and a pitcher of water and a clock that clicked its second hand as if nervous. 10 minutes later, a security officer stepped in. They're downstairs, he said. We told them spouses requested a conversation. They're on their way up with mixed enthusiasm. Mixed enthusiasm is generous. Luke came in first, jaw set, charm clenched like a fist. Kayla followed with the kind of smile you give a police officer at a traffic stop when you're still hoping for a warning. She froze when she saw Aaron, then me. Her hand went to her wrist out of reflex like she could hide the band by thinking. Hey, she said, like we were running into each other at Trader Joe's. We're not doing theater, Aaron said, calm, chair pulled out for herself, palms flat on the table. Sit. They sat. The manager joined us. The security officer stood at the door like a punctuation mark. Here's where we are, Aaron began, voice even. You booked a vow package at a chapel with my last name on your marriage license at home and his wife's money in your experience fund. That's not fair, Kayla said immediately. It's symbolic. It's content. It's an activation for the cohort. The manager raised a finger. We have canceled the package, he said, and we are refunding the charges. Our property and partners will not be used for content of this kind. Luke leaned back. Are you done? He asked Aaron, aiming for intimidation and landing on petulant. Not close, she said. She slid a printout across. Transfers from our joint account to something you labeled Luke Fund. You used community money to fund a weekend with an accelerators that is neither accredited nor professional. You lied about Chicago. You lied to the hotel. You lied to the chapel. You lied to me. He rolled his eyes. The account is joint, he said. It's my money too. Community money with a spouse's paper consent, Aaron said. You don't have mine. You have a paper trail. I slid the registry page into the pile. Friends and family bought books that turned into a cabana, I said to Kayla. People who love you thought they were funding a classroom. They funded a pool with bottle service and a vow photo op with a married man. It wasn't like that, she said, the lie already tired in her mouth. The program moved to Vegas for the weekend. The registry is how they do tuition add-ons. Your cohort has a welcome banner and a ballroom next to a slot machine, I said. Your dorm is a South Tower room with a minibar. Your curators is your ex-boyfriend. She flinched. Luke cut in. Careful, he said to me. You don't know us. I know hotel carpet, I said, and I know when a lanyard is a costume. Aaron slid one more document into the stack. A printed copy of their marriage license. If you proceed with any ceremony in this city with my husband, symbolic or otherwise, I will file a petition for protective orders and inform his employer and the licensing board for his consultancy that he engaged in client boundary violations while misusing marital funds, she said evenly. And I will have already done the boring paper things that make those sentences matter. Don't threaten me, Luke said. That wasn't a threat, she said. That was the table of contents. The manager cleared his throat. Housekeeping has noted that your room has unauthorized filming equipment set up, he said. We do not allow commercial shoots without permits. This is now a property policy issue. We are asking you to pack and leave the hotel within 2 hours. We will refund the unused nights. Security will escort you to your room. If you require transportation to the airport, we can call a car. Kayla looked up at him like she might cry and get a different answer. He looked down at her like he's seen better tears. What did you think would happen? I asked her quietly, because the yelling had burned off and all that was left was the part of me that still loved the person she could have been. You thought you could do a wedding without consequences. You thought everyone who bought you books would clap for a photo. You thought the word scholarship was a costume loud enough to drown out a vow. She stared at the table. Luke reached for her hand under the guise of comfort, and because he likes props, Aaron watched him with the composure of a woman who has decided whose name goes on the file. Here's what happens next, Aaron said. You will both receive an email from the chapel confirming cancellation and refund. The hotel will send a formal incident report. I will be in touch through council with a demand for reimbursement for community funds used on this trip. Kayla, if you want to avoid your friends filing chargebacks for the registry funds, you will issue refunds through the platform within 48 hours. You will also send a message to every donor that begins with the words, I am sorry, and includes the sentence, this was not a scholarship. Do you understand me? Kayla nodded, a tiny movement, the only honest one I'd seen all week. Luke stood and tried to reclaim the room. We're done here, he said, to security with the entitlement of a man who's never had to meet an ending he didn't write. The officer opened the door and gestured toward the hall as if to say, I do this 12 times a day for less interesting reasons. They left. The manager exhaled. Aaron's shoulders dropped half an inch. I poured water and handed her a cup. We clinked like people who had just uninvited themselves from a life. The part where Vegas fixes it isn't real. The part where the adults do paper is. We walked to the little glass office off the lobby and filed incident numbers. The chapel manager handed us a printed cancellation with a stamp because stamps still mean something. The hotel emailed a PDF with policy violation in polite font. I forwarded everything to a folder labeled K&L Vegas Receipts. On the Uber back to the airport, my phone pinged. A registry platform notification, organizer has initiated refunds for K&L Experience. Another, organizer has removed your email from the registry. I laughed once, a sound that had less mirth than air. On the plane, Erin and I sat in different rows because the universe has a sense of proportion. Before we deplaned, she walked past my seat and put a small card on my tray. It was a therapist's card. For after, she said, not instead. At home, I did the boring things that make the new life real. I called our bank and flagged the transfers as unauthorized use of joint funds for non-marital purposes. That phrase sounds like it belongs in old movies. It also makes fraud departments sit up. I sent the registry platform the chapel cancellation and the hotel incident report. I wrote a short note to people who had donated. If you made a gift to Kayla's study registries in the last week, please see attached. I am sorry. You can request a refund through the platform. If you need help, I will make calls. I kept it clinical and kind because I don't want to be one more person who turns a lie into a circus. Her boss called me the next morning sounding like a middle manager who has been handed everyone's feelings. Is Kayla okay? She asked. She will be, I said. Not with me. The next call was from Kayla's aunt, the one who had sent $100 for textbooks. She cried. Then she asked if she could make me lasagna. People show love. Weird. I said yes because love is a good thing to have in your fridge when your heart won't tell you what it wants to eat. Kayla came home to a house that didn't argue back. She had on a sweatshirt from the airport and a face that looked older in the corners. She set her suitcase by the door like a person who needs permission to exist in a room. I didn't make her ask. I didn't make her leave. I made coffee and told her what bills were due and where the folder was, and that I had a meeting with a lawyer on Thursday. I told her I would be filing for divorce. She didn't beg. She did say, "I'm sorry," with a sincerity that makes me wish apologies could power a car. She sent the refund messages that night. I know because my mother called me and read hers out loud to me like it was a poem. She used your exact phrase, my mother said. It started with, "I'm sorry," and ended with, "This was not a scholarship." The chapel refunded, the hotel refunded, the registry refunded. The platform sent an email that was a little too cheerful about learning moments and community standards and ended with organizer account restricted. Kayla's friends split into two lines like people at a buffet. Half sent me quiet texts that said versions of, "We love you." Half sent me nothing. "That's fine." Absence is its own answer. Erin emailed me a copy of her petition to the court for an accounting of community property. It had the force of a woman who discovered that a paper trail can be immoral. Her lawyer CC'd me politely and said, "If you need a referral in your state, we have names." I took one. I called. I gave a retainer that felt like a tuition payment for a different school. My lawyer, a woman named Delgado who wore flats like she meant it, read my folder, asked me 3 questions I didn't know I knew how to answer, and drafted a separation agreement that looked like a grocery list for adults. She included a clause about third-party fundraising. Neither party will solicit or accept funds on false pretenses for education or professional development. She included a clause about symbolic ceremonies with third parties and posting content that misrepresents marital status. It felt ridiculous on paper until you read it against a photo of a wristband. We signed at a notary in a UPS store because notaries live where shipping labels do. Kayla cried silently. I didn't. Delgado put the papers in an envelope and said, "The rest is just steps." 2 weeks later, a certified letter addressed to Kayla arrived from the district attorney in Clark County acknowledging receipt of Erin's complaint regarding fraudulent use of community funds and possible wire fraud via online registry. That phrase sounds scary. It is mostly leverage. It's also a reminder that the internet is not your diary. Kayla moved out on a Tuesday morning with 3 boxes and a plant she names her moods after. I gave her space and a map and a key that wouldn't work by Friday, not because I wanted to be dramatic, but because locks have jobs. I went to work and lifted freight with men who speak in nouns and the weather. I came home and ate lasagna and listened to a house learn to sound like itself again. I slept. I woke up. I took out the trash on the right day. I changed a password. I called my mom back and let her cry about a daughter-in-law she still likes in a way that doesn't require me to fix anything. Months later, a friend of a friend sent me a reel of the accelerator changing its name and issuing a statement about clarified guidelines for facilitators. Luke's space was gone from their site. Erin texted me a screenshot that said consent decree in a docket listing. We didn't celebrate. We just sat with the quiet satisfaction of boring outcomes. If you want me to say I hate my ex-wife, I don't. I hate the version of her that thought a wristband could replace a vow. I hate the way the word scholarship sounds in my mouth now, like it's wearing a wig. I hate that my mother learned to request a refund on a secular cash registry when all she wanted was to buy her daughter-in-law a book. I love that the chapel had a manager with a tie and a spine. I love that a hotel supervisor knew which lever to pull. I love that an HOA somewhere is probably writing a new clause about cohorts as we speak. I love that Erin sat across a table from a mess and didn't learn to be messy. If this finds you scrolling a registry page with a banner that says experience and your stomach making tiny fists, here is your permission to be the boring adult. Call the property, call the platform, print the page, ask the unromantic question. Vegas isn't special. Every city has a chapel and a pool and a person with an old flame and a new idea. The difference between a story and a scam is a receipt. What would you have done? Stayed home and waited for the content to trickle down, or flown to the desert and asked a manager for a room with a table and a pen, texted her friends to shame her, or quietly sent refunds to people with kindness in their wallets? Would you have yelled in the lobby or said, "Write it down," until everyone who needed to know how to spell your name? Tell me in the comments. Be honest. If this story held you, Hit like so. It finds the next person staring at a wristband and a selfie and trying to decide if they want to live in a world where vows are props. Subscribe for more long, messy, painfully human stories where the twist isn't cinematic. It's a refund, a cancellation number, a blue folder, and a man who picked the manager over the meltdown.